begins. Sanctus Terra.
The first light tears the cloud like a seam ripper, a hot white stitch dragging a sound behind it. I shove Ria's head under my coat and cup her ear, and my teeth ping as if biting a rail. The street turns to glare, glass fragments, wet stone, faces upturned and small. Sirens find one long note and hold it. The prayer chips on the stair rail clap together. Somewhere a kettle screams and never stops. In the minutes that follow, we lift and shuffle, hunched to the tunnels with the others, water tins banging shins, the air already biting. We move because the line moves. We move because we are frightened of standing still. A man with a lamp on a stick limps ahead of us. His light jumps, catches the soot bloom on the hab-wall saints so they look freshly dragged from coal. Ria presses into me, ribs fluttering like a trapped bird, her small mouth hot against my side. I make my hand a roof over her, knuckles against her hair. The ground breathes, slow and wrong, and grit peels the inside of my nose. "Keep this," I say, and fold our last clean cloth around her wrist. "If we go dark, you put it in your teeth so you don't taste pipes. Understand?" She nods against my coat. The motion tells me her jaw is clenched too tightly to talk. We pass under laundry that keeps trying to catch fire from the light, then gives up. The alley funnels us into the main stair. Someone thrusts a bundle into my chest. I think it is a child at first, but it is backworked leather full of tea leaves, still damp. I pass it on without looking. My hands don't want the smell. The stairwell is full of skin and cheap oil. At the landing, an old woman turns her hands palm up to show they are empty and harmless, but then clutches my sleeve when the floor remembers to shiver again. The sky is wrong when I see it between units. Not open, not blue. It is lanes of light ripping between one nothing and another, and falling things that seem slow until they aren't. The sound comes late, as if built somewhere else, trundled to us on rollers and tipped into the square. The slabs of the manufactorum show their ribs, the windows falling in crystal rains. I can feel the imprint of my first ration token in my pocket, years old, as if it is trying to become a new bone. We reach the tunnel mouth like the city's own mouth. Bricked lips chipped back to wet stone. The lampman's flame collapses to a knot and then returns, flickering as the air sucks. People feed into the dark with the drugged steadiness of cattle, groaning when their shoulders snag. And the smell now is iron and solvents and the human sweet sour. I have never liked the tunnels. They are too low to lift your head and too broad to hold your fear inside your arms. But the surface is loud with light and wrong weather and the hungry sky. A child is crying behind us, the thin kind of crying that trembles the throat to read. Ria looks back. I shake my head, eyes on my back. "We are a hook and a fish," I say, words I don't remember learning, only using when the night freight barks. The lamp shows the first rungs into the cut, black with damp. My boots take the metal like they have to be convinced each time. The tunnel air yawns down my coat sleeves. Ria's fingers are a ring about my wrist. There are voices around us that pray as habit with the speed of work songs. There are others that do it like they are trying to remember how, and the light from the lamp squeezes past us to find the next face and the next. A man with a baby stands aside to let a woman through his eyes glance everywhere, emptying. Another line of light rolls across the clouds above the city mouth. We don't see it, but we feel it in our teeth and calves, a sizzle like fat in a pan, a pause like breath. Then the push of noise through the ground, up through the rungs and into the bone meal of our shoes, throws us against the stone. I put my hand over Ria's ear again and taste rust. Dust comes like weather. We angle deeper. Someone stamps on my heel. I turn to curse and remember I am a man who needs something from strangers and bite my tongue. Ria's hand clutches tighter as if she is told by some old part of her that if she loosens, she will lose ownership of me. And the tunnel multiplies our sounds. Coughs give birth to more coughs, prayers wheel, and even the steam pipes add their name to it now, thudding as if hammered from outside. I keep my right shoulder against the wall. That is the rule I made in the mines when I was young enough to forget I had made it. Right shoulder to stone, hand tight. When the world loses its furniture, you need simple truths anywhere you find them. Our turn brings us to a maintenance sally with its door skinned off long ago. I remember it because of a chalked fish on the brick, weirdly jolly, tail broken by a scrape of boot. I slant us inside and others follow without asking. The floor is greasy with long use. A gang of pipe attenders hunch already in there, arms around their own calves, and their eyes flick to us in a way as if they are counting resources too small to share. Breath, warmth, the way to look without promises. I crouch with my back to the wall and pull Ria into my lap. She is taller than last year and all brittle knees. She is not my daughter, she is the daughter of my sister who is dead 3 winters. I call her mine because the word is direction, and directions matter. I can hear the bombardment talking through my ribs now, a conversation between the sky and the ground that we are eavesdropping on by mistake. Someone tries to hum a hymn. It catches in dust. An old man chews his sleeve and stares at his forearms where very fine black hairs are still uprising with the static. Another hit rolls closer. You can tell by the thickness. And this one shakes out a string of brick crumbs along the arch like salt from a bent paper packet. They gather on my tongue and I swallow them because that is what the body does. It makes inside of what will not keep outside. Is it ours? A voice asks. I cannot see the speaker. I do not know whether anything can be ours at this scale. The lamp blows and relights and the room becomes a lung. Pressure builds, not as noise this time, but as a wide hand pressing into the tunnel to find the shape of our faces. My left ear squeals and pops. Ria's shoulders are up by her jaw. The light outside the sally is a color I have never seen the world choose before. It smears over everyone's skin the same wash, hiding and revealing them in turn. Someone vomits water into their own lap, and we do not move. A boy with a long scar down his cheek crawls to the doorway and peers into the main tunnel. "They're running," he says, voice flat. "They are running in both directions." That is the beginning of the real hurt. The next lash of skyfire does not fall on the manufactorum, or the rail yard, or the outer habs. It finds the ridge over our tunnel and slices it open. There is a sucking breath. The tunnel is a chest that breaks its ribs when it gasps, and the world has a chin and uses it. The roof shakes the dust from its little pockets and then drops the pockets themselves. Everything splits. The light comes down with pieces of other light trapped in it like insects in amber. The main tunnel avalanches into the sally. I am on my back with my legs not where I left them. I am under the door that no longer exists. And Stone takes a breath and sits hard on my shins. Ria is not in my lap. She is a blur stuck to the world somewhere else. I shout her name and cannot hear myself. I taste my own mouth. Something is broken far away in my ankle and it is busy persuading the rest of me to attach meaning to it. The dust is so sweet with ground insulation that breathing feels like chewing old bread. Then she is there, not where I asked, but there, a face streaked to gray, eyes the color of the lamp, making an O because the sound does not travel. Her hands empty, then clench. She tries to come to me, a beam, still pretending to be a tree across seasons, holds her off. I reach, my hand is too short. I gather the scattered pieces of who I am. Miner, brother, man who can heave a keg by himself, and push the door slab from my legs. And it moves as if the floor has butter on it and the butter is also stone. I take back my shins and my breath and crawl. The tunnel is not the tunnel anymore. It is a long trick with falling pieces, a throat clogged with its own voice. There are feet under rubble, toes showing blue through the dust. A hand repeatedly opens and shuts as if it is trying to describe something forgotten. Someone's pocket watch gurgles a new rhythm, then dies in the dust. I find the beam at Ria's belly and pry, and it flexes and laughs and does not move. She pushes with me and cries without sound. Her lips are gray. There is an old rag ratting against the wall, and I snag it, twist it into a rope I can wedge under the beam with my arm as lever. I push until clean white points appear at the edge of the world. The beam creaks, makes a decision. There is a slam, and it slams down further. Ria's breath stops the way a candle stops, quick and final. Her eyes become a belonging of the room, fixed to a bolt head on the far wall. I put both palms to her chest and feel that there is no chest to push. I do not say anything. I am airlocked and filled and emptied again. The bombardment continues around my body as if it was never meant to stop for me. Others in the Sally come alive with slow usefulness then, not to help, because there is nothing to help, but because they have learned in other collapses that if you move, you are alive, and if you are still, you are a thing to be put past. The pipemen take turns heaving the beam until there is space to pull her out. She arrives light, all the resisting parts refused. I unroll the cloth from her wrist that I told her to keep, and use it to cover her mouth that will not close. It is filthy. I cannot stop seeing the exact streak of soot on her lower lip. We make a room of bodies around the small body and do our best to fit. A main pipe above us splits at the joint, clangs, flutters, then gives, and a ribbon of scald edges out. It screams when it touches dust slab, makes a stink like boiled coins. We shift her further to the wall. The floor shunts under us as another cut of fire touches somewhere near. I brace for the series of after pushes and they come obediently. Floor waves you can see traveling in the dust like breath through chest hair. A woman with one shoe cries, not like a person is accustomed to cry, but like a house does when the beams settle after a fire. She squats and presses her fingers to my forearm and tries to get me to drink. Even the tin cup knocks my tooth because the tooth will not get out of the way. The water tastes like shield oil. At some point, a group of young ones rolls out a tarp and starts bringing bodies to it in systematic ways, not looking at faces, looking at edges. The tarp grows its own shape as it fills, something that has weight and needs tending. When they reach for Ria, I hold up one hand without looking away from her, and they stop at once and then go away. The gesture feels like a kind of speaking I have never had to use before. The tunnel beyond our Sally is flattened to something that remembers being a tunnel once. The lamp finds air and shows that the ceiling is a bruise of rebar, and through one jag of light we can see a sliver of the world above. A descending ash that is not ash, but the unburnt fine of many things crushed together, a sheet of sky fire slicing on the horizon, too clean the far stacks standing and not standing in the same breath. Someone produces a crowbar and we try at the big stones because work is a way to tell time what to do. My left hand bleeds from the web and I enjoy that it is red and simple. With every lift my ankle speaks its thicker language. In the rests we give the beam, I put my lips against Ria's hair and breathe its smell. It is already the smell of tunnel. I try to find the place where the smell of her is safer and tucked in behind the ear under the top curl, but dust has gone there first. We hack and pry, and a young boy with that cheek scar slips into voids we open and speak, so we know he hasn't sealed there. A man adds his pry pole and it bends like a willow whip. We find fingers to grasp and pull the ones making that open-close motion. The fingers come and the rest does not. Once we find the rest and the fingers belong elsewhere. I am calm enough to hold a shoulder in my lap until the eyes shudder. I don't have words for the shoulder. After the eyes stop working, I smooth the hair with my palm. if you do it gently enough, that action can be a wall you live behind for a while. There are fewer voices praying now. The ones that keep going are muscled into habit past choice, like people who lost hands long ago and still go to scratch with what is not there. A break in the rain of light gives us a moment of enormous silence, a silence that makes everything else look like it was imagined by a person unacquainted with silence. In it, someone laughs once, and then the laugh becomes a cough and does not end. We give up the idea of the main tunnel and start dragging ourselves sideways along a maintenance crawl too narrow for two. The crawls are tight and iron-smelling, with bolts waiting as small teeth along the length of the legs. We slide Rhea along with us for a while on a strip of door panel. When we get to the first turn, the space refuses. Everyone looks at me over her. I look down at the cloth over her mouth, the bulge of her nose under it, and I know. I tuck the cloth. I press my forehead to hers, careful of the corners of the stone powder, and I say, because the word has been waiting in me with its arms already open. Mine. Then I leave her there, not covered more than that, because I cannot make her into something else by covering her, and I would rather the tunnel see her as she is, so it knows what it has done. We move, that is all. The crawl is a canine run of old screws and frayed cable. It makes a humming inside my teeth from its own old current memory, as if gossiping with itself. The man with the crowbar wedges the panel aside, and we boil through into a pump room whose floor slants because the world has changed its idea of down. There is a bubble of air that tastes like rust and old soap. There is a window of industrial glass, one pane crazed, showing a slice of the outside. From here, the falling streaks look like rope pulled down from heaven, yanked hard. Each pull sends a response up through all the structures and muscles of the city. The city turns its face to each blow. It offers a different cheek, does not tire of turning because it does not have a body to protect, only parts. We eat things that are bad ideas because they are food-shaped, and time passes when you hold food and chew. I cannot taste anything through the metal and dust. A man I know from the lift engines, Jareb, is here. He is famous in our hab block for once lifting a broken gear assembly with his shoulder because the jack gave, and not dropping it until someone slid the crib in. He touches the bent edge of the pump like it is a shoulder he can brace for. His mouth is missing blood when he smiles because he used it to pay for something already. We sit with our knees pressed because there is only one way to be. Another strike drags the building over us. The pump yelps like a dog kicked. Water begins to arrive through the hairline cracks, and it tastes cold and feels like the memory of snow, and then stops feeling like everything but wet. We bail with hands. We laugh because bailing with hands is older than this city, and laughing is a tool. It works until it doesn't. We argue about leaving by the glass when the time between strikes makes a kind of road outside. I do not speak. I hold my ankle away from my thoughts. The boy with the scar looks to me as if I am something older than I am. I look to the floor. The next chain of hits decides. The glass crazing finishes its drawing, and the piece comes down in organized surrender, edges turned away somehow. The air takes the liberty to go out. We stumble into a courtyard that used to be surrounded by units and now is surrounded by teeth. The open is too open, and the bombardment paints the world in strips. Lit beyond seeing, then dark as pocket lint, then lit again. We have to move in the dark strips because that is how you do it when the light hurts the eyes and makes your skin try to flee, and if you are in the lit strips, the pieces coming down can see you, and they are not even aimers, they are just law. I gather what equal-bodied people we have into a line, old habit, mine face, and we practice a step that is also a fall, which is all that walking is right now. The courtyard paving heaves under us as if something is trying very hard to sit up underneath. In the lit strip, I can see floating glue flashes where the old posters have lifted from the administration wall. Faces that have peeled into long tongues in the dark strip. It smells of cooked cable. Irea is not with us, and I keep not forgetting that. A tank of some kind, a storage cylinder, has rolled onto its side and is crying quietly from a single split. The leak smells sweet. We cross the runnel without stepping in it because the sweetness tells a story about not doing that. I hold Jarab's belt with my left hand and the boy's shirt scruff with my right as we move. Behind us, a woman hobbles wearing someone else's shoe on the wrong foot. The others string, keep their hands on each other because the ground has stopped being responsible. Over our heads, the streaking points join and split like thought, then become rain. Hitting things makes them sound their names. Slate says slate when it breaks. Brass says it too in another accent. Something big tears and lies across the far lip of the yard like an animal come there to die with dignity. And I keep my eyes down because the sky is impolite now. We find the hatch to the cisterns by luck. The boy's boot stubs a wheel, cursing it into existence. The wheel turns a little when I ask it nicely with two hands, and Jarab's cracked laugh. The hatch yawns like a tooth missing, and the stairs lead down into a wet cold that feels reasonable next to the sky's loud command. We go. The air smells like pennies and old meals. Water licks the lowest step, then takes it, then the next, and then pauses to extend its jurisdiction. We file along a narrow path that is not meant for men but for tools. The cistern room has ribs like a man's chest and holds a careful echo. We sit on a lip of walkway that doesn't promise not to break and share breath and cold in the thin mind of shock. Someone finds candles. They are too fragrant for this place. We light them anyway. The little lights agree with our faces the way daylight would not. The bombardment becomes a bass feeling through stone, deep and regular now, like the long body of a loaded conveyor. And I let it place itself in me because I cannot stop it. I do not pray. I count. I set my fingers on the wet iron rail and tap left, then right, then left, like steps we took in the dark outside. I think of the cloth on Ria's mouth and I hold my own mouth still so the thought does not fall out and break on the floor. The water rises one stair and holds. It moves in little significant gestures, pretending to be still to comfort us. Drops fall from the ribs and make a steady series of small choices. The boy puts his head on my shoulder. He smells like batteries. He is shaking in the way tired children shake, in a tremble that continues into sleep. I turn my hand palm up on the iron and let it gather condensate until it feels like holding something alive. Jarab hums a bar of nothing. The woman with the wrong shoe sleeps with her mouth wide for air and drools like a child. Because the body does these things whether we approve or not. There is a ladder on the far wall leading to a slit in the stone. In the candlelight, it looks like a short line's promise. I think of going up and think of not, and hold in my head both ideas as if they are teeth that will never meet. The bombardment runs on. Sometimes the city shudders in a way that makes the candle flame stand up taller, indignant, and we flinch. Sometimes the shakes are nothing more than a thoughtful reply from a long way off. In between, we hear the trickles of the great machine of water, patient, yet unbothered by our presence even as it shares its space. When a section of far wall gives its powder in a sigh and collapses a little into the cistern, edging the water with new gray scum, we all look up, and then we all look down again. The water bears it, makes circles that glide outward and come back. I press my thumb into the iron until I can feel the skin gliding over bone. I realize I can hear again. A thin ribbon of sound that has forgotten the words for itself and keeps rubbing against my ear to find them. Breathing, coughing, water, the bass of the sky law. The small whispers of a man telling a story he will not finish because he will sleep first. When the next strike comes close enough to paste dust from the joints and hang it like curtains in the air, I do not stand. When the next quiet comes, I do not stand either. I hold the rail. I count. I keep the fingers moving in their lesson. I have this to do. The rest is the world deciding. A drip lands on the back of my thumb and makes its own small glory bead upon skin, tremble, then slip to the rail and vanish into the line of wet that runs there, constant like work,